And that's the way it is. Walter Cronkite was the personification of the mainstream media as it existed in the 50s, 60s, 70s. At the end of every broadcast, he would say,
and that's the way it is.
He was the newscaster, face of the news, voice of the news. In a way, he kind of galvanized what the work really means. A world in which journalists aspired to essentially get the story right. It's an aspiration that almost by definition can never really be met, but the aspiration is always to tell the truth, to describe the world the way it is. And now we're in 2018 in a kind of crisis of democracy and a battle for the kind of soul of journalism, I think. Who knows if Walter Cronkite was a Democrat or Republican? I have no idea. It was not something that he would have wanted to project. The underlying raw material is the caption text from news broadcasts. We're pulling in, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN, PBS. I think that's about it. So we're pulling in the text transcripts from all of the sort of evening news broadcasts into our computer that is sitting there across from the piece. It breaks down all that text and then it sort of sorts it according to language characteristics. The artwork is fed from that computer out to these 6 projectors that are on the roof opposite the building. Those 6 projectors are blended to form one big unified field. I guess the piece in part came to be as a reaction to this beautifully brutalist architecture. Sometimes when I'm standing near the building on the plaza, that the projection almost dematerializes the building at certain moments. It becomes a little bit trippy to figure out what's solid. It's one of those instances where a limitation, it was hard to find a sort of continuous surface to project onto. The limitation really became one of the strengths of the work. So at one point you see short phrases that are noun phrases that are sort of flowing across. You see questions popping up, and it's all being drawn from the news broadcasts of that day. There's one other element, which is that we have a large archive of transcripts from Walter Cronkite's news broadcasts. When you see this sort of visual weaving of text, that's what you're looking at that point as a sort of, historical counterpoint to what we're living through. When the piece was first made, fake news was not really anything anyone was thinking about. Social media wasn't even a factor at that point. That was 2010, 2012. I had a few years earlier finished with Mark Hansen a piece for the New York Times building. So I'd already been thinking about the state of journalism, the changes that were coming to the newsrooms, the changes in the business model. It was a very live issue. It was clear that there was a radical transformation going on, and existential threats existed at that time. But the perception was that they were economic in nature. Loss of advertising, not being able to sustain the level of newsrooms and reporters, correspondence necessary to deliver the news. So today, the most present danger to our news media is not the economic model. It's journalism coming under sustained political attack. This is a whole new kind of existential threat. And ultimately, the game is to sow enough confusion about what is and isn't true so that the only voice that really penetrates after a while is the voice of authority telling us what's true. And then it's game over. We've broken the feedback cycle that can repair our democracy at that point. So let's hope it doesn't come to that.
And that's the way it is. Monday, September 11th, 1972.